We are creating a platform for those who are curious, one that tells the story from the artist's perspective. Moments in time captured from the innovators who are reshaping dance, music, theater, and the visual arts. This is the Working Artist Project.
This week on the Working Artist Project, I have the one and only Charles Gould. Charles Gould, yeah. Charles is a unicorn of sorts because he actually grew up in New York City, well, at least a portion of his life. We talked about him not initially being accepted to Julliard, then later being accepted and also graduating from Julliard. We talked about the trials and tribulations of being a musician, a working musician in New York City and beyond. And I think you guys are going to really like this one. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So I want to welcome the one and only Charles Gould to the Working Artist Project.
Hey.
Yeah, man. So, you know, I like to start out with all my guests, letting them kind of give the story of them. You know what I mean? So, okay. In a sense, I want you to tell me and my audience, who is Charles Gould?
Well, I guess I'd say Charles Gould is he's a musician out here. I'm a drummer, trying to make it. Well, I wouldn't say make it, but to just try and play and make music in any situation I can. Find myself in new adventures and meet new people and basically make people feel good. You know, the same way that the first drummer I heard who made me want to play music, that feeling he made me, that's what I try to do every time I play. You know, and it's kind of just like that feeling you get. I guess they call it, kind of like the Holy Ghost, where you get real tingly all over your body and everything, and it's just like, you know, it's just you just feel happy just from hearing music.
Right.
And that's basically all I try to do, you know, as naturally as I can.
So what's that story, man? What's that story?
Man, you're going to like this story because you're from New Orleans, right?
Well, I'm from Mississippi, but, you know, I learned to play music in New Orleans, yeah.
In New Orleans, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, man. So my dad was with Harry Connick Jr. for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Playing in his band. And so for a spring break, my family would go down to New Orleans for Jazz Fest. We would drive down from New Jersey. And the first time we were down there, I might have been, 13. Yeah, I was probably around 13 years old. And I've been playing the drums, and it'd been great. And I liked going to see all the guys who play with my dad's trios and stuff in New York over the years. But I wasn't really taking it that seriously. But I went and I heard Shannon Powell at the Palm Court.
Yeah, okay.
And it was my first time hearing the real second line stuff and like a New Orleans drummer really playing, this shit for real. And I couldn't believe it, man. I could not believe, the sound and his vibe and how just I literally felt like I was on drugs listening to this guy play. So I was like, man, I have to learn how to do that. I got to learn how to play drums like that. And this is what I want to do.
Wow.
So that's basically when I knew. I was like, man, I gotta, tap into that somehow. And that was basically it.
Okay. That's funny because, man, Shannon's my man, you know.
Yeah, Shannon's, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
man.
Dude. You know, Shannon taught me how to play tambourine. Man, you know, I spent a lot of time with him and just watching him play when I was in New Orleans. And he's always like super positive and a cheerleader, you know. He real supportive cat, man, you know. That's special for me. I don't even care what everybody else thinks. Shannon's just the man. So if you're ever in New Orleans, you got to go check out Shannon Powell.
Yes.
And if you never heard him, get on the internet right now and listen to it because it's a real special thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, man, it's funny because I actually remember, everybody knows I play drums too. So like I hadn't heard drums yet when I decided I was going to be a drummer. You know what I mean? because my dad was also a musician, and they were setting up for rehearsal, and I just saw the drums, but I never stayed while they were rehearsing, you know. So I saw the drums, and I was like, that's it right there. That's what I'm gonna do.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, you know, the drums are special, man. Well, it's like the first instrument, really. I mean, outside of the human body, which is the voice, right?
Right.
So that's deep, man. So anyway, your pop was taking you down. So before that, like, what was happening in your house? Like, how did you start to play drums?
Well, yeah. So my dad was he was a musician. We were living in New York until I was around 5 or 6 years old, but there was already musicians coming in and out of the house because we were living, on 94th in Riverside. So it's the same way now. You just go to your friend's house and for a rehearsal or a session or whatever, the people were coming over to play our house, So I was hearing music, from day one, hearing in like jazz music, I was hearing like Charlie Parker and stuff from day one. And some of my first memories in general were about this drummer, Jimmy Lovelace, who was a great older jazz musician. He played with Wes Montgomery. And who else? Well, Wes is definitely one of the biggest guys he played with. So I was listening to these older drummers down, and my dad would bring me down to Smalls when I was like 6, 7 years old back in the 90s. I remember hearing, I remember seeing Brian Blade and Christian McBride down there. I didn't know who they were.
Right.
But I just remember thinking Brian Blade had some really cool looking Malcolm X glasses. I hadn't seen anybody wear those. It wasn't really in style like that in the 90s.
Right.
I was like, who's this dude wearing Malcolm X glasses?
Right.
But yeah, so like I was exposed to music like from that early on, and it's like you said, drums. It's like you pick up the sticks and you can start hitting the drums right away. You don't have to like go through all this time to make a sound. And so yeah, that's how I got into it. I think my uncle's girlfriend at the time bought me a bongo drum when I was like 5 years old or something like that, and then I just started playing. I got some sticks when I was around 6 or 7 and started just trying to just play at my dad's gigs whenever there'd be a break or something. Or that's basically it.
What about your mom? Was she also a musician or what?
No, my mom's not really even into music in general. She's a nurse. She works at Sloan Kettering, but she emigrated here from Haiti with my mom has a big extended family, so they all emigrated here one by one in the 80s. And my parents actually met because my dad was playing saxophone on the side to make money. He was playing saxophone with the most famous Haitian group at the time, Taboo Combo.
Oh, okay.
And my parents, they met at SOB at some point in the 80s. My mom was just at the concert. So, and she picked the white dude out of the group.
Oh man, that's great. He must have had a serious vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he had a serious vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, your dad
does.
Yeah, right. I was just gonna tell him your dad is a jazz legend, Ned Gould.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, man, that's what's up. So, anyway, what was it like growing up in New York? Just the experience, because it seems to me like, because I'm from Mississippi, man, and growing up in the country is one thing, but growing up in a city where like everything is accessible seems insane, especially in earlier periods of New York City,
Yes, well, I mean, I was lucky because I didn't actually go to school in New York City. My parents moved. They couldn't afford to send me and my brother to to private school when we were here. So we moved when I was like 5 or 6 years old down to Maryland. And I spent 5 years down in Maryland, spent basically my childhood there. But then my parents started to go crazy. I guess they just missed New York so much. And you can make a little more money up here. So when we tried to move back to the city, my parents actually moved into Jersey. So I was around 11, but then once I was around 13, 14, well, yeah, around that time, 11 through 14, then I started learning how to be able to, I started playing at Arturo's with Harry Whitaker when I was 11 years old. My dad would bring me into the city every weekend to play with Harry Whitaker. And then I started doing gigs with my dad at Smalls when I was 14. So by that point, I was coming into the city from Jersey, taking the bus every weekend.
Okay.
To play and hear guys. But I didn't actually I wasn't actually in school and like raised as a city kid.
Gotcha. Okay, so you got like a little mix in there between Jersey and
yeah.
Okay, that's what's up.
I'm a mutt.
That's all right though. But you were close enough to the music to really make it happen. To get an understanding of what it was and what it wasn't. That's what's up, man. I want to play like I sometimes I play this word game with my guest, and I say a word and then you say the first story that comes to mind when I say that word.
Okay.
All right. Cool. So, Europe.
Okay. The first story?
Yeah.
I guess I'll say the first time I went to Europe was it was a month after I dropped out of Berkeley, the college up in Boston, and it was like I got asked to do a cruise boat gig out in Italy, and I was so excited to do this gig, man, and it ended up being one of the craziest months of my life. I was 19, and I went on this cruise boat gig, man, and it was crazy. Like we were a quartet,
okay,
and the band we were in was just a hilarious ragtag group of people, because one dude was a recovering alcoholic who was on the gig to just try and, I guess, get out of his current situation.
Okay. But
then he was still drinking, so
no.
So yeah, that was bad. And then the guitar player he had hired was, unbeknownst to me until after the gig was over, he was just completely hooked on painkillers and stuff like that. And he had been doing cruise gigs where he didn't even play. He just kind of stood there with a karaoke machine behind him, and he just acted like he was playing.
What?
Yeah. So I'm coming onto this gig thinking like, all right, I'm gonna be on this boat for 6 months. I'm gonna have no rent. I'm gonna be, talking to all these European girls and stuff. I'm gonna travel the world, and I'm gonna pay off my loans at Berkeley. This is gonna be great. Man, we were fired within a month.
Wow.
Yes, man, we were fired within a month. It was me and Matt Clifford came on did the gig. And man, we used to call this guitar player Rockin' Rob, man, because he was just so zoned out on Xanax before all the gigs, and they wanted us to play for 4 hours, and they wanted to be like a Las Vegas big band type of Frank Sinatra sound.
Right.
And this guitar player was supposed to sing and play, and he only knew 2 songs, and he sang it in this like Florida accent.
Oh no!
He knew Moon Dance and Fly Me to the Moon, so he would be like, "Fly me to the moon, let me." I was just like, "Oh my god!"
Oh, no, dude.
Crazy. That was my first Europe experience. That was insane.
Okay,
but it was fun.
Yeah, that's a good one. You. It was worth the story. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, it was great. I made a good friend on the boat, and I met real Italians for the first time too. So that was interesting.
Okay.
But yeah,
so, Rock and Rob. Dig this. Donald Trump.
Oh Jesus! The first one that comes to mind is the election night, man. That's kind of like 9/11, where everybody remembers where they were on that. You know what I mean? Like, I just remember getting really, really angry and drunk when on election night. But I was telling people, because remember before everyone was like, "Oh, there's no way he's gonna win. This I don't even know why they're having the election." Blah blah blah.
Right.
And I was saying, saying to some of my white friends, I was like, I don't know, man. This is a big country.
Yeah.
Just saying, I wouldn't rule him out just yet. But secretly in my mind, I was kind of thinking the same thing. Like, there's no way he can actually win.
Right, of course.
But like, yeah, I just remember getting very, very drunk and not doing anything the next day. Just being like, yeah. I remember New York. Yeah, New York was pretty silent that day. The day after.
See, I was in the Middle East, man. I was in Qatar.
Oh God.
Yeah, and like I stayed up all night. I was like, wait, what's happening? And then I erased all news outlets from my phone, like Huffington Post. Like I was like, okay, I'm done with all of these like liberal. I'm done with them because they all lied to me. Like they, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like they made you feel like you just said there was no chance. So, Next one, Max Roach.
Oh man, Max Roach. Max Roach is everything, man. That was one of my first favorite drummers and still is. Just because, I mean, I just think about like how he had how he must have so much confidence to start playing such a weird way. When he was playing,
yeah,
the style he was. I mean, nobody was doing that. That crazy kind of comping he was doing, and just like his just the way he's so almost stubborn. You know what I mean? Like, this is my style. This is how I play. This is the message that I'm giving to you. And if I don't know if you ever listened to it like this, but I remember when I used to listen to Max and really listen to him, I always used to think the way he would comp was kind of like an old school hip hop beat that didn't repeat. Yeah, because like he, instead of going boom boom cop, he would be like boom boom cop boom cop boom 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 cop boom keep boom cop boom boom. Like
I got you. Okay.
He would just keep it going. But if you were to take one little snippet of some of the comping you hear him do with those Charlie Parker recordings and like the 40s recordings, it's like, wow, this sounds like kind of just like a sample. My experience hanging around with those older drummers when I was a kid was just thinking that like, oh man, this is just kind of like a hip hop beat that doesn't repeat, like it doesn't stop.
That's an interesting way to think about it, man. I never thought about it like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I've always heard it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I want to get into speaking about academics because earlier.
Oh wait.
Yeah.
Actually, I got one more story about Max Roach.
Okay, tell me.
Okay, so. Maybe some of you guys won't know who this guy is, but I studied with Kenny Washington at Julliard. And my very first lesson, I'll give you background. So from my very first year, I had to transcribe a Max Roach solo, the really famous one for Big Sid, right?
Uh-huh.
And it was called juries, where at the end of the year, you play all the stuff you've been working on with your professors in front of the rest of the professors. So I had to play that for K. Wash, Professor Washington, and he let me go. He passed me, and then 2 years later, I decided to study with K. Wash, right? And the first thing I come into the classroom ready for my lesson, and I'm like, "Hey, Professor Washington, how you doing, man? I'm excited for this year." And he goes, he puts down, he's eating something. Slams his fork on the table and he goes, "Okay. All right, man. I'm not a nice guy, man. I'm not a nice guy. If you want to come in and do some work, if you want to play the drums for real, then you can study with me. But I'm not a nice guy. I'm not like the rest of these guys out here. If Max Roach would have heard that drum solo you did, he would be rolling over in his grave." He says this to me on the first lesson.
Wow.
Didn't even say hello back. This is the first thing he says to me. I was like, whoa. Ouch.
I feel like he just really wanted to help you, man.
Yeah.
He was like, I got the knowledge.
I see
for
that
you.
now.
Yeah. I'm not a nice guy, but I got the knowledge. Come get it, that kind of vibe.
Right. No, I thank him now for that. It was tough love.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great. But yeah, I was getting into before was I'm curious because about your road to Julliard, because I think a lot of times people think about university as this like perfect thing that you go here for 4 years or whatever. Maybe then you go to grad school, blah, 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 but you do it right away and you do it quickly and efficiently. But in the real world, it's not always like that. Sometimes you intend to do something, you hit some roadblocks and you have to take a detour. You got to do this and that. And I know that for you, it was kind of that way. And I just want to hear that story and how you ended up a Julliard graduate.
Okay, well, it was kind of crazy, man. So I mean, it kind of starts when I was in high school. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, whether I wanted to play music or I was actually really good at track and field in high school, and so I was really into the idea of doing sports in college. So I ended up going to Temple University on a track and field scholarship my first year out of high school. And so I had given up drums for about a year and a half. I wasn't playing any drums. I was just concentrating on running. And then once I was in school and I was running at this Division I college and shit, they had me running like 80 miles a week on pavement, and you have no time to do anything but sports and your whatever schoolwork you have. But I always knew I wanted to be a musician, but I just didn't want to give up this chance to do college sports. But once I was in college doing it, I was miserable, man. Totally miserable, not playing. And you go from being the best in high school to just I will come in 350th place and everyone would tell me I did a good job. It was just crazy.
Wow. So
yeah, I actually tried to audition for the Temple Jazz program, but I asked too late. Terrell Stafford wasn't in charge yet, so he couldn't even get me an audition. So I took a semester off and then went to Berkeley, because Berkeley would let you audition for each semester specifically, right? Mm-hmm. So I went that route. I'd taken a semester off, just living at home and really trying to shed and actually get back into the drums again. So I know a lot of musicians who say they know me since, I remember when you were coming, this is probably around the time when they would really start to see me, when I was around 18, dropped out of my first college. I was coming out to the sessions every single night to try and catch up, so to speak.
Got you.
So then I went to Berkeley. I got in. But I didn't get a full scholarship there. And so I had to take out a lot of loans. And after my first semester, I looked like, they sent me the bill. And I told my parents they never wanted me to go to school for music. So I said, this is really what I want to do. I'm not going to make you guys pay out of pocket to make me go to a music school, because they really didn't believe in music school like that, especially my dad, ironically.
Okay.
So I said, all right, I'll take out the loans in my name. I'll do it because I really want to do this. And then I looked at my bill at the end of the first semester, and I owed close to $20,000 after one semester.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And I said, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe my parents are right. And they had just moved back into New York City after me and my brother left the house in high school. So they had a room open, and I said, you know what, guys, I'm not going to go back. I don't want to graduate owing $80,000 for a jazz degree. So I moved in with them when I was 20. And so they were staying in a tiny apartment on the Upper West Side. So in order to practice, I would just go out. I would play on the pad all day and then go out to the sessions every single night. And eventually I started working a little bit, and I auditioned for Julliard when Carl Allen was in charge. And I was actually doing the late night session at Dizzy's the night before my audition to try and get into Julliard the first time. And so my audition was at 9 a.m. And I had been at Dizzy the night before till like 2 or 3 in the morning. But I thought I'd be cool. I thought I'd wake up. I get a phone call at 8:45 a.m. from Ben Wolf saying like, Charles, where are you? And I was like, oh shit. So I jump out of bed, hop in the taxi, get to Julliard. I'm there at 9:02, right?
Okay.
And they turn me back and they say, go home. Like you missed your slot. We're going to put you at the end. Go home and put on a suit. Right?
Okay.
So I go home, I put on my suit, whatever. I wait, and then I go into the audition, whatever, and it goes okay. You know, I wasn't crazy about it, but you know, they try to make you as nervous as possible in those things. And so I got the call back. I was there till 7, 8 p.m. all day, and I didn't get in. And, you know, I'm very close with Ben Wolf. I ended up asking him, like, man, so, you know, I didn't get in. Why was like, oh, well, you were never going to get in. You were late to the audition. And I was like, what?
Wow.
You guys made me go through all of that, even though you knew full well that you wouldn't let me in? So that was crazy. Maybe Ben was saying that to protect my feelings because maybe I wasn't really playing that much. I don't know. But that was the story I was given. So I was 23 at the time, and I was like, well, you know what? You know, fuck school. Right. Whatever. I'll just keep on playing, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then, so 2 years later, I'm setting up my drums for a gig, and I'm playing with Alex Claffey, right? And Claffey's he's really tight with Kyle Poole. And he's like, yeah, man, Kyle's about to go to Julliard. I was like, oh, shit, how about that? That's great, man. I was like, what, did he audition or something? He's like, no, they're having special auditions, man. And Kyle's basically a shoe-in. But they're having special auditions this summer. I was like, damn. I'm thinking to myself, well, I've never traveled for a gig. Hold on for 1 second. All right. I've never been out of town for a gig. Maybe I could get into Julliard and just do my gigs at night and go to school during the day. So I hit up Ben, and they gave me a special audition, and me and Kyle got in basically.
Wow. Nice.
And that's not, yeah. So I got it. I finally got into my start undergrad at 25, about 7 years after I was supposed to originally do it.
That's what's up.
That's basically it. Yeah.
That's a great story, man, because it shows like determination, focus, perseverance, you know, like all of the things that you need to be successful in life, you know?
Yeah.
So you never gave up. Now, I'm sure everyone wants to know if you got a scholarship since you were paying 20 G's a semester at Berkeley. I
did get a scholarship to Julliard. Yeah, they hooked. I never really told anybody this, but yeah, they helped me out. And I actually, since I, don't tell us the IRS, but a lot of my stuff is cash or whatever. So on my financial aid, I was able to kind of report it low, and they gave me a grant on top of the full scholarship. So I used that grant money that was supposed to go towards my rent, and I paid off my other loans from Berkeley.
Oh man, way to play the fucking system, dude. That's great.
Well,
that's freaking great.
They're playing us, so we got to play them every once in a while.
Man, look, I am 100% against them charging anything above $30,000 for a music degree, for a jazz studies degree in particular.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Economically, it just doesn't make sense, Yeah, man. Since we're talking about challenges now, I'm wondering what was the most challenging moment of your life thus far?
Of my life, wow. I mean, yeah, that's a good question, man. I would say the most challenging thing was actually going to Julliard and still maintaining a full-time, thing as a musician. Because I thought it would be easy. As soon as I got in, I got the gig with Johnny O'Neill, and then he started touring.
Oh man.
So then I started going through all that. Yeah, I was going. I mean, I was playing with him for about a half a year, but he was sick and we weren't traveling or anything, and we started traveling immediately. Once I got in, like the first month, you know, I was getting asked. I would say, yeah, that along with having my ex who was living with me at the time, just having, you know, trying to maintain a healthy relationship, you know, with our musician schedules. I mean, that's, and then be in school and then still making money to pay rent.
Right.
It's been the most challenging thing I've ever gone through by far.
Wow. Okay. Now I want to get into some of this music.
Okay.
Which one you want to play?
Oh, shit. Which one did I send you? I sent you
Beehive.
Tell
Me Something, and then you got something with your pop.
Okay. Well, yeah. Why don't we start with we can start with Tell Me Something. That's basically that's one of the first tunes I wrote at school, and I'm trying to come out with a record soon, and that's gonna be on there. And basically, the full title is just called Tell Me Something When, and the melody is kind of like, it was like, tell me something when you need a friend. And then I don't have the rest of the lyrics, but I like to try and write things that could be sung for the most part. Because a lot of times in jazz, there's just so many notes, you know what I mean? There's no time to even know where the song started or ended. Right. A lot of times.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the style I'm trying to do right now.
All right, let's dig it. Why did you write that one?
I wrote it, you know, it's embarrassing to say, but I wrote it for just one of my classes with Andy Farber. Because the main reason, a big reason why I went to Julliard, man, is another funny story. So I was playing with Johnny. You know, I was feeling myself, you know, like, yeah, I'm doing these big gigs. I'm with Johnny O'Neill. I'm in the Johnny O'Neill trio, you know. And he's first time I'm going on the road and stuff. And he's like, yeah, Charles, we got this, this week-long gig at the, I think it's called the Dirty Dog, right? Is that the club out in Detroit?
Dirty Dog Cafe, I think. Is that the name of it?
Yeah. He's like, yeah, we got a week-long hit there. You know, I'm going to take you to Detroit. That's going to be $1,500 for you, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, great, you know. And then it comes up, and, like, keep in mind, I'm, like, canceling all these gigs, you know. People are calling me for stuff. I'm like, no, I'm going to be out of town. I can't do it. You know, can't make it. And then, and I'm like, yeah, Johnny, so what's the details for next week at the Dirty Dog? I was like, and he's like, oh, you're not on it. I was like, what? Like, oh, yeah, I'm going by myself. I never told you about that. And I had put this in my schedule, man.
No.
Yeah. And then I realized, holy shit, everything I do depends on old crazy motherfuckers. Like, I gotta somehow figure out how to do my own thing. I gotta learn how to write or something. I gotta start a band or something. And then that's when I heard about Kyle getting into Julliard. I was like, man, this is a sign. Let me see if I can get in and learn how to write or whatever. So this is the class with Andy Farber. He wanted us to just write some original tunes and bring in to, like, orchestrate and stuff like that. And that's the result of it.
Okay, that's great, man. Mm-hmm. Like that's a good motivation. It's like, yo, man, I gotta eat out here because motherfuckers is like, you know, that's something that people don't normally come on the show and talk about. Like being,
really?
being a jazz musician can also be shiesty, or or people can be, you know.
Man,
Like,
yeah, I'm gonna be real, man. I mean, it's very, very hard.
yeah,
Shit.
yeah, because there's no guarantees. You can have, you know, you can have a year's worth of work, and then maybe the artist on Wednesday decides not to work with you anymore, and it's like, well, sorry, I got the other guy now. I don't like your shoes no more, man. I got
That's
the other
about
guy, you know.
That's right. Keep your shoe game up.
Yeah, you're right. Keep your shoe game together. But what I'm saying is, it could be anything. You know,
Right.
It's hardly ever anything to do with your musicianship, because you wouldn't have been on the gig in the first place.
Right.
But damn, yeah, man. So, Johnny O'Neill.
I love Johnny, man. Anybody listening, I love Johnny O'Neill. I owe him everything, including the motivation to go to school. But yeah.
Man, what does it mean to you to have strength?
Man, to have strength, I would say for me, it's always been pushing through those natural weaknesses that you have, those moments where you could say, oh, fuck it, or like, I'm not gonna do it, or fuck that guy, or like, fuck that girl, what they're saying is bullshit, like they don't know what they're talking about. The ability to be able to absorb things and push through stuff you don't want to do, like that's been always for me, like always, it's always been a sign of, it's always been my strength, my ability to like have willpower to push myself through things I don't want to do, dating back from when I was, doing track and field, or even when I was a kid. I was like, this is before hipsters existed. So like I had hipster glasses when they weren't hipster glasses, when they were just big ass goofy glasses.
Right.
Back when Family Matters was a very popular TV show.
Uh-huh.
And so my name was just Steve Urkel growing up as a kid.
No.
So like, yeah. So just having strength to just push through kids making fun of you, or like just your natural hesitancies or stuff like that, or having stuff like where you mess up on a gig, or you can't do a certain style, just pushing through things that your body naturally wants you not to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's my greatest strength that I can point to, that I've always been able to just take things, compartmentalize, and say, all right, I gotta,
right,
in this situation.
Okay. Yeah, that's deep, man. Like, strength, because strength is very important, especially if you're an artist. I mean, just in life in general, because I like to, like, people, I think when you're coming up, you think life is going to happen to you in a straight line. Like, you're born, you like live until you're 16, you don't know anything, you have a girlfriend, like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, now I'm going to college.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but instead, life is more like a spiral. It's like, it's you think it's predictable, but it's very unpredictable, because you can't really see around the corner. And like right when you think that you're like cruising, you get that curveball,
Yeah.
And so it's like, what are you gonna do now? Like, what are you gonna do now that you thought you had the gig on the boat, now you fired? Now what you gonna do? You thought you had the gig at the Dirty Dog, rent's due tomorrow. What you gonna do now?
Yeah.
Or when it comes to
it's crazy.
It comes to relationships, like that could turn itself romantically, friendships, business, all of that can go sideways real quick,
Absolutely. Yep.
So,
but all great lessons though. I must say.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. All great lessons. You need those. So, like, how would you say, like, the rhythm of life affects your playing?
Man, it's funny. I was having this conversation like 2 days ago with somebody about, man, it seems like to me it happens in like 2-week periods. I don't know, like 1 second I'll just be so up on my plane and I'm like so up on everybody else and I'm just super positive and like, yeah, this is why I play music. You know, this is great. I'm really doing the right thing or whatever. And then there's other times where I'm just in a funk, man, where everything's going wrong and you're trying to be positive and you can't play and stuff. It's just, it's definitely, I would say for me, man, I don't know why, but it just feels like 2 to 3 week periods where I'm just like up or down. I'm sure I'm sure you can identify with that, where you like sometimes you just wake up and all of a sudden you can just play all this stuff you couldn't play, 2-3 months ago or something. You know what I mean? It just feels right.
Oh yeah. Well, as far as I don't want to get in here and interrupt you too much, but as far as playing goes, like, I feel like whenever I'm just like, okay, whenever I feel like I can't play, it's not that I'm playing any less than I was playing 2 weeks ago or 6 months ago or any more. Especially any less, it's more, it's probably I've just grown past that. And so now because like as musicians, like we expect ourselves to always be getting better at everything. And I think that's true. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that makes it hard to be with us, to date a musician, because like you want, I know for me, like I want everything to get better. I want my relationships to be like, why is this relationship stagnant for 2 seconds? Like, fuck that. Like, the shit needs to be improving. Like,
right.
Know. So,
oh man, yeah. I've always had a problem with that. Like the idea, just we're just gonna sit at home and do nothing. I could be practicing like right now, or like, just stuff like that. Like, oh, I'm going to do this stuff that isn't towards my career. And that's a bad habit to have. I feel like,
Yeah,
I definitely feel on that.
Yeah, it's about balance, But you were talking about just the rhythm of life and everything.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important for everybody. I think a big part of my whatever success I have now and whatever a lot of the enjoyment I get out of being a musician is when you play music or whatever, there's so many different types of music and so many different types of people, and in New York City you can just get exposed to so many of these different things. And I've gotten to see so much great culture and music and art and stuff and dance and meet people and eat great food being in New York. And always when I meet somebody who's like who's different from me, trying to like link up with that person and see what they're about and go out and party with them and see the traditional side or whatever they do. And I feel like I've got so much of that is like seasoned my own life and playing, And I feel like a lot of people don't, a lot of people don't do that. They'll kind of close themselves off and do the same thing, all the time. I mean, the mere fact that my dad took me down to New Orleans, those 3 times, it's like had like the biggest impact on my life, possible. And, just getting to meet so many different types of people and, experience other things. I feel like, yeah, I'm not going to go off and be, a timbale player, but I can tell you going to hear all these great Cuban timbale players that I have over the years in some kind of a way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Man, we coming to the end. I got a few more questions just in case you're getting tired.
I'm a little hungry, but
right.
Yeah.
If you could describe yourself in 3 sentences, what would those 3 sentences be?
Okay. I wasn't ready for this question. I think I'm one of the craziest but coolest people out there, where like I can switch on, I can become super crazy or I can stay cool at any moment. And I also I like to think of myself as someone who's just very, very open, even when my instincts tell me not to be. I think that pretty much encompasses most of me. Yeah.
I like that. That's what's up.
Yeah.
So this is it, man. One more question.
All right.
And I ask everybody who comes on the show this question, and it's what are the 3 things that you're most thankful for?
First off, it's my parents. Absolutely my parents. My dad for, bringing me around and showing me all this music, but never forcing me to do anything. Always being around for, me and my brother's stuff. Always treating me and my brother, equally and like men very early on. And just being very supportive. And then my mom for just being, just the incredible person that she is. She's super strong, came from a hard life, and just done everything in her power to make sure that me and my brothers could be better, which is, I credit a lot of my work ethic from her in a lot of ways, and my dad too in the more cerebral side of things. The second thing I'm thankful for is it might sound kind of weird, but I'm thankful for being born in America. Even though it looks bad to the rest of the world, it's like true privilege that we get to be born in this country, man. Because we have a lot of rights to things, and just we take a lot of things for granted that most of the world doesn't even have, if you really think about the grand scheme of things. And the third thing I'm thankful for, man, I guess I'm thankful for just people have generally been nice to me. I would say I've had pretty good luck. I'm pretty thankful for that. Because I don't want to get specific. I think I'm very thankful for just how nice in general people have been to me. You see a lot of BS and a lot of people trying to get their own thing all the time, but I would say for the most part, man, people have been pretty nice and generous to me.
That's what's up. Everybody but Kenny Washington.
No, he's giving me a ton. He's giving me great stories too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. Oh man, before we go, I do want to give you an opportunity to plug any projects that you got coming up, or anything that you're working on, or your social media. And all that.
Okay. Well, I'm on Instagram. So you just type in my name, you find it. I finally got my Squarespace thing together, so you can look me up at charlesgoulddrums.com. So in response to everything you heard earlier about me wanting to become a leader and all that, and going to school, now that I'm out, I'm trying to put together my own project, my own band, and I'm going to be recording a record hopefully within the next 4 or 5 months, finishing up all the music, and I'm hoping to have Steve Nelson on vibraphone, Peter Washington on bass, Andrew Renfrew on guitar. My dad's gonna be on a couple of guest tunes, and if he's not too busy, Sullivan Fortner will be as well. So that's really exciting.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So y'all check that out.
Yeah,
Charles Gould, CharlesGoold.com. No, drums, right? Charles Gould
Drums. CharlesGooldDrums.com.
So yeah, check it out. Yeah, man. That's what's up, bro. Thanks for coming on the Working Artist Project, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, man.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the Working Artist Project. Before you go, I'd like you to do a few more things. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast, and check out what else I'm doing via my website, DarianDouglas.com. It would also be amazing if you checked out my Patreon page. I'll leave a link in the description. Later.